The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
What happened that night changed everything.
The four were stabbed with a knife, and these murders have shaken us to our very core.
Because of him, we're beautiful, compassionate people. We're taken from this world.
It was overwhelming would be an understatement.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
How you feeling?
This is it. We got our guy.
Based upon his searches and his behavior, he seemed to know he wasn't as perfect as he thought.
How do you plead guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
That person will never leave the correctional institution unless he's in a box.
If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
Just after 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, a man slips into a home and stabs 4 college students to death. The case and its disturbing details would capture the world's attention, and the hunt for their killer would put the spotlight on a small-town police department. Detectives eventually zeroed in on a PhD student who was studying criminology as the person that savagely murdered Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. I'm Ted Rollins, and this is Victim to Verdict.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something's happened in our house. We don't know what.
Just before noon on November 13th, 2022, police in Moscow, Idaho, respond to an off-campus house at the University of Idaho to a report of an unconscious female roommate.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and felt like up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night.
Where's she at? Yep. Where's she at? Where's she at?
She's just closer.
Yes, please.
Inside the house, officers quickly realize it's not a passed-out roommate. It's 4 dead students. All of them have been murdered.
Slow down. Just come here. There's 2 excited fatalities.
We were taken into the crime scene to see what was there. It was overwhelming would be an understatement, unlike anything that I think I've ever seen, just with the number of victims and the brutality of the attacks.
Got ISP on standby already. You got a call on to Dustin. I'll call Payne. We need to talk to everybody. We're going to need some help. Get a hold of the on-call prosecutor, tell them what we got, let them know that you're working on a search warrant. Get the description of the place. Okay. What are you doing? Well, get your ass into town. We've got a quadruple homicide.
20-year-old Xana Kernodle was on the floor in her bedroom with more than 50 stab wounds. Her boyfriend, 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, was in Xana's bed. Upstairs, 21-year-old Madison Mogen had been stabbed to death in her bed, and lying next to her was her childhood friend and college roommate, 20-year-old Kaylee Gonzalez.
It's, something that'll haunt all of us who went inside that house and saw that scene forever. That's just an image you can't ever get out of your head.
The house at 1122 King Road, which was now a crime scene, was home to 5 girls. The smiling image of all of them was taken just hours before the murders. Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, who were at home but unharmed, lived in that house with Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee, along with Kaylee's dog, Murphy.
Murphy, you've been a bad
There's this video that was posted a few weeks before the murders where the roommates are joking, laughing, pretending to be each other. You really get the sense of just how much they loved each other in that house.
Did anybody do their chores today? I'm just gonna do it. You didn't get out of here. You seriously gotta get out of here.
If you look back at their moments, you can actually see their whole lives. These girls really did do the social media stuff.
Get down. Get down.
And these girls, you know, they were everywhere, so people got a taste and a look and a feel of who they really were. I think people connected with that. And then if you go back, you can see, like, I hate to say it, but like the last hours of their lives.
And in those last hours, Ethan and the roommates, they were taking photos before a home football game. After the game at around 8:30, Ethan, Xana, and Bethany, they go to a house party at the Sigma Chi fraternity. Maddie and Kaylee went to a bar downtown in Moscow called the Corner Club, arriving at around 10:30. At 1:40 a.m., they can be seen on video getting food from a food truck. Dylan and Bethany would later tell police after the murders that everyone was back in that house by 2 a.m.
And then Maddie and David came home from the club. And then we all hung out and came for a little. And then me and Maddie took out Murphy, and then...
Murphy's the dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went inside to the bed, and she was still taking him out.
By 4 a.m., just before the murders, Kaylee and Maddie were upstairs in Maddie's room. Kaylee's dog, Murphy, was across the hall. Xana and Ethan were in Xana's room a floor below. Dylan was on the same level in her room, and Bethany was on the bottom floor in her room. Dylan told police it was around this time that she saw the killer and heard one of her roommates.
I heard her scream, and she ran upstairs because she saw someone. That's what I'm pretty sure she said. Someone's here, and she screamed and just ran downstairs. And I called her name, but I jumped up and locked my door because I was so scared. So then I opened up the door to look, and that's when I saw the guy pass by. He looked at me, but he didn't come towards me or say anything, which was really confusing to me. I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure he went out the side door.
Describe the guy that you saw.
I don't think he was a little bit taller than me. And, I couldn't really see much of him, but I'm almost positive he's wearing a full black outfit. And he had this mask that was just over his forehead and over his mouth, and he didn't say anything to me, like, at all. I just shut the door and locked it, because I didn't know what to do.
Imagine what it would be like to be a young woman who opens the door and sees this man all in black, and all you really see are his eyebrows, and he's tall and he's big. And he just killed 4 people with a knife. He walks right past you and out the door. How close to death were you? It gives me shivers to just think about what that is. And that must just roll through her head every single day.
Dylan and Bethany, they are critical for investigators. Not only do they share part of a description of the suspect, but a timestamp. But there's a big question. Why didn't anyone call 911 for nearly 7 hours?
From day one, just walking into that scene, there were more questions than answers. How did this happen? Who did it? Why did they do it? Why did the roommates not call? None of it seemed to make any sense. There's a lot of reasons why they may have waited or not, but it's just one of those complexities is a case that really, from the onset, had us scratching our heads.
Coming up, the White Elantra.
He was feeling the pulse of the investigation and feeling the pressure, for sure.
Plus, the critical evidence left behind, leading to an arrest.
I'll never forget, all of a sudden my phone dinged. We got him. This is it. We got our guy.
The Court TV podcast will return. The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
Moscow is a very typical university town. It has a vibrant downtown with places to eat, places to drink, places to gather.
There's not really much surrounding Moscow. Rolling hills of just wheat fields and various other farms.
small town feel. I think that's roughly 25,000 people, give or take a couple thousand.
I think of North Idaho as a pretty off-the-map type of place, pretty safe place, very family-friendly.
In the days after the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, people in the city of Moscow and the University of Idaho were feeling both overwhelming grief and fear.
It has deeply affected all our students and our faculty and our staff, and it's been just a struggle to get through this. To have 4 murders and then the guys just running around on loose is a little unnerving.
Any new details?
Nothing that I can share.
How was the crime scene?
I can't talk about it. Everybody's working together. The investigation is still active, absolutely.
How long they're gonna stay here at the home?
Don't know, as long as they need to.
We certainly knew that we were going to eventually be able to solve this case. It was really just a matter of patience and perseverance, walking through all the steps, exhausting all the potential leads in methodical fashion that was going to get us to the end.
What the public didn't know is that the killer left behind a knife sheath next to Maddie Mogen's body. And on the snap of the sheath was a single source DNA, meaning that it came from one individual, possibly the killer.
That was collected and immediately hand-delivered to the forensics lab, the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab in Meridian, Idaho, and they, that night, began working on processing it for DNA and fingerprints.
Everybody was hoping to get a quick solution to what had occurred and who was responsible, and not having a CODIS match meant we weren't going to have that immediate solution. But the investigators kept moving forward.
In addition to the knife sheath, detectives also secured video surveillance from this neighbor's porch. It showed a white Hyundai Elantra driving through the neighborhood several times beginning at 3:30 a.m. At 4:17, the camera picks up audio of what investigators believe is voices, a thud sound, and a barking dog. Then at 4:20, the sedan is seen and heard speeding away.
We're looking for that car because we believe through our investigation that that car was in the area during the time of the murders.
So everyone's looking for this car, this white Elantra, and there's an officer, a campus police officer from Washington State University, across the state border, who decides to run a list of all the white Elantras on campus. And he finds one. It's registered to a guy named Bryan Kohberger.
The problem is that investigators were initially looking for a 2011 to 2013 white Elantra. Kohberger drove a 2015 Elantra. So while Washington State University police had his name, they didn't initially give it to Moscow investigators because the years were off.
Literally, we had sheets upon sheets, thousands of white Elantras within that time frame or those year range that we were singly going through. So initially, when that officer found that vehicle, it was outside the range of the years that we were looking for, so that information didn't immediately get passed on to us.
By mid-December, a month after the murders, Bryan Kohberger gets his dad to help him drive his white Elantra back to Pennsylvania. They get pulled over twice in the state of Indiana.
How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good, good. There was a lot of speculation that we were tracking him from Washington State University all the way to Pennsylvania, or the FBI was following him, and he got stopped twice, traffic stops, and that was somehow related. It was not. We didn't have his name.
But a few days later, they would, after a match to the DNA on the knife sheath came through from a public genealogy database.
The investigative genetic genealogy is what really broke this case open for us. It was a tip on where to start looking, and once we had that information, we were able to generate numerous search warrants. Once investigators had the name, that opened all sorts of doors, and they all opened up essentially at the same time.
Once investigators had a name, that Washington State University Elantra tip became crucial. Not only did a PhD student named Kohberger drive a white Elantra, he'd been pulled over near the victim's home in Moscow a couple months before the murders.
Hey there. I stopped you going a little fast. You didn't realize this is 35?
It's 35?
It is, yeah. So you're going
41?
Yeah, 43 is what the radar said.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Do you have your license, the registration, insurance? Can I get a phone number from you?
Yeah, why?
We need to put it on the citation as it goes to the court.
During that traffic stop, Kohberger gives his cell phone number, which is critical. Investigators can now use that number to check his location at the time of the murders. They were able to determine that his phone was off during the time of the murders. Very significant. But even more significant, they were able to see that his phone had been in the area of the house on King Road up to 12 times in the months leading up to the murders.
Coming up, the hit. What was that woman like?
Earth-shattering. It was, this is our person. This is our guy.
Plus, the killer in court.
Hey, Bryan, ready to do it. How you feeling?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast. The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
By mid-December 2022, quadruple murderer Bryan Kohberger was back in Pennsylvania, staying in his Poconos family home. Investigators back in Moscow, Idaho, were very close to positively identifying Kohberger as the killer of Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Ethan Chapin. A knife sheath left behind by the killer had DNA on the snap, which was traced through a public DNA database to the family name of Kohberger.
As soon as they get the name Kohberger from the public DNA database, they quickly connect the dots. And then they do a trash pull at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. Out of the trash, they pulled a Q-tip. They sent it in, and it turns out it's a DNA match.
They did the trash pull. And then that was ultimately, we got the DNA off of that Q-tip. That was when we were able to take that with the profile that we had received and definitively say that the person's DNA on that Q-tip was the father of the person who touched that snap.
What was that woman like?
Earth-shattering. It was, this is our person. This is our guy. It has to be.
Last night, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania State Police, Federal Bureau of Investigation, detectives arrested 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
Mr. Kohberger was taken into custody without incident. The scene was turned over to the FBI Evidence Response Team for processing.
I was laying in my bed, and I had my phone next to me, and I knew this operation was going on, and I'll never forget. All of a sudden, my phone dinged, and it was our administrative group, and it said, "We got him." And the next picture I had was a picture of him in handcuffs, and so it was like a wave of relief, and I felt like I could take a breath finally. This is it. We got our guy.
Hey, Bryan, ready to do it. How you feeling?
How you feeling, Bryan?
Ready to do it. Are you ready to go to Idaho? Ready to do it.
Your last time in Pennsylvania, Bryan?
He is very intelligent. In my hour conversation with him, that comes off. I can tell that.
I was inside of that courtroom when he walked in. His mother broke down into tears. The Kohberger family, they were sitting on the front row of that courtroom. He made sure to make that eye contact with them, and he kept looking at them.
That would be the last time that he looked into the gallery at any courtroom. Once he gets to Idaho, he looks straight ahead. He likely knows that the victims' families are in that gallery, hoping to make eye contact.
The maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and/or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
I feel like he's scared to look at me in the eyes and start to understand what's about to happen to him. You know, he picked the wrong family.
Bryan Kohberger.
After graduating with a master's degree from DeSales University in the spring of 2022, Bryan Kohberger was accepted into the PhD program at Washington State University in their criminology department. He served as a teaching assistant, and a few of his students say that they noticed a change in Kohberger's behavior after the murders.
Definitely around then, he started grading everybody just 100s. He seemed preoccupied, is what I would have said at the time.
He would come in, be there for 10 minutes, leave, not say much. So he didn't really do that much, but you could tell there was some off about him.
It's not that unusual for sadistic killers to study criminology. We think of the BTK killer in Kansas, the Golden State killer in California. Both had criminology degrees, and the California killer did go on to become a law enforcement officer.
According to some of his fellow students at DeSales University, Kohberger seemed to be especially interested in both serial killers and mass shooters, including Elliot Rodger, who in 2014 killed 6 people and injured 14 others near the University of California, Santa Barbara. After the Idaho murders, someone was using the handle of Papa Roger in an online Facebook group, which people believe may have been Bryan Kohberger.
Papa Roger not only had a profile picture that looked like Bryan Kohberger from a side profile, but he was making off-the-wall comments that even took notice of the administrator. And after that, after Kohberger's arrest, this person never posted again.
Coming up, the experts that analyzed Bryan Kohberger's devices.
He loved himself. That is what I think. He seems very vain.
Plus, the surprise plea deal before trial.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? Yes.
This is the Court TV podcast. The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
I try not to think too much about any of the darker side of the aspects. I just try to stay positive. There'll be days where I have to focus on the negativity, but today's not one of them.
7 months after the brutal murder of his daughter, Kaylee, Steve Gonzalez spent her birthday driving her car around Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, paying it forward for Kaylee Jade Day.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you guys. We're doing a pay it forward, so your meal's gonna be free.
You're paying it forward all that?
Yeah, make it work.
You got it?
You guys go. You guys helped us out with fundraising. We wanted to give back to you guys.
Oh, well, thank you.
Your establishment has been amazing.
Oh,
Thank you. Give me some. I'd give you a hug if I could.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
All right, you guys have a great day. Oh, see, they're already here. They even already had it, so I knew these were the right people. No, thank you.
At this point, the man who murdered Kaylee, Madison, Ethan, and Xana was in jail awaiting trial, and prosecutors were seeking the death penalty, which Steve and his family completely supported.
We definitely do. Yep, that's part of the reason we moved to Idaho. That's what we're looking for. The ultimate form of justice is that.
Prosecutors are pursuing the death penalty, and they're really hoping that Bryan Kohberger's cell phone and laptop would provide them with critical evidence. But that turned out to be more difficult than they expected.
He had been routinely wiping his devices of data and utilizing VPNs, so there really wasn't a whole lot gathered from his devices.
In March of 2023, I received a call from a good friend of mine at the FBI. Do you think you can come in and help us and take a look? It's related to the Idaho murders.
Heather and Jared Barnhart, a married digital footprint power couple, were brought in to help investigators make a case against Bryan Kohberger. And what they found painted a disturbing picture.
He was definitely a loner. We looked at the number of contacts in his phone, and he had 18. It's a wildly low number. He had his mom saved in his phone as a contact as mother, and then he had his dad saved as father. And I've been doing digital forensics for 13 years, looked through hundreds of phones, and I've never seen someone label their parents that way. But more than that, he actually spoke to them with his texting calling them those names. So it wasn't just a random label on a contact. That was the way he addressed them, which was very strange. It reminded me of Bates Motel, of this really odd relationship between mother and son.
In the hours after the murders, Kohberger took this disturbing selfie and was calling and texting mother and father.
You could see the timeline starting at 6:13 in the morning up through 5:54 p.m., I think was the last, over 3 hours of conversation with mother. And at 9:03, he called back again for about 9 minutes, I believe. And what we learned was he was also back at the scene of the crime at that point.
As for photos on his phone, there were a lot, most of them of himself.
He loved himself. That is what I think. He seems very vain. He took a lot of topless photos of himself from different angles, like forward, sideways profile views, flexing in mirrors, but then would do nothing with them. Even after he was home in Pennsylvania in Christmas, there's some selfies that he was taking of himself with mother sitting in the background.
There's one picture or video, I can't remember which, didn't spend any time there, that appears to be him masturbating. There was porn activity, and the thing that really stood out to me was that they were all non-consensual sex acts. So the terms that he was searching for involved rape, drugged, sleeping, and voyeurism.
Jared, a former Maryland police officer, is convinced that the homicides were planned out.
I definitely think that it was premeditated. I think the fact that browser history from October and November, not before and not after, is not available to us means that that's when he was figuring out what he wanted to do.
On Christmas night, when Kohberger was in Pennsylvania at his parents' home, he was searching and reading about serial killers, including Danny Rolling, who also murdered college students at the University of Florida. Like Kohberger, he used a U.S. Marine Corps-style K-bar knife and wore a mask.
He just went one by one, clicking and opening and looking at the serial killer files on Christmas night. And Danny Rolling was one of them, but he was also one that he went to twice. So he had 2 PDFs of Danny Rolling that were saved in this directory.
As investigators were starting to close in, Bryan Kohberger's searches indicated that he knew he was in trouble.
On the 29th, he went through an interesting sequence where he searched for wiretapping. I think it was also federal wiretapping. Then he went and read an article from the New York Times that highlighted that the police were still actively looking for a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra.
Based upon his searches and his behavior, he seemed to know he wasn't as perfect as he thought, and that people were catching on. I think the car thing really seemed to worry him.
What wasn't found was any connection to that Papa Roger social media account or any connection to the victims. His phone did detect the Wi-Fi network at the Mad Greek restaurant where Maddie and Xana both worked, but it was inconclusive.
What plagued us was not finding the thing to tell these families. We thought for sure, we will find the place, the reason, the search, the something. And we didn't, and that's hard.
I don't believe that it was just unlucky people being in a house. I think he intended to do this heinous crime, that he clearly had issues, he had psychopathic behaviors, that this is who this human was. He was not a good person that should be forgiven. He was evil.
Coming up, the plea deal.
We accept and recognize that not everybody agrees with the decision we made, but this isn't a popularity contest.
And victims' families come face to face with their loved one's killer.
If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast. The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
As the prosecution developed their case against Bryan Kohberger, months stretched into years. What was once a mystery was now a legal battle in the courtroom. Hearing after hearing, the victims' families watched as attorneys argued about evidence, technicalities, and a change of venue.
You go through all kinds of emotions, but rage is definitely
probably the primary emotion that you have. And then I remind myself that I need to, actually understand what's going on. So you want to be strategic as well, because, justice doesn't fall out of the sky. You sometimes you got to earn it. You got to do everything.
Steve Gonzalez, in fact, the entire Gonzalez family really worked hard. They attended most of the court hearings. They were trying to keep the case in the public eye, not just for Kaylee, but in fact, all of the victims.
4 individuals were doing everything that they could possibly do to better their lives. And they just went to bed one night, and some monster snuck into their home and killed them.
Folks, we have big breaking news in the Idaho student murders case of Bryan Kohberger. In a shocking turn of events, Bryan Kohberger appears to have accepted a plea deal.
On June 30th, 2025, news broke that Bryan Kohberger had agreed to a plea agreement just weeks before jury selection was set to begin in his trial.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Murder in the first degree, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
As part of the plea deal, Kohberger admitted his guilt, waived his rights to an appeal, and agreed to serve 4 life sentences in prison without the possibility of parole. In return, the prosecution took the death penalty off the table. Kohberger did not have to give any details about the murders or about his motive, and while some of the victims' families were behind the decision, others, including the Gonzalez family, were not.
This isn't a popularity contest. In the end, we, and ultimately me as the elected prosecutor, had to make a final decision on what we thought was the best resolution overall for the case. Had we gone to trial, he would have been convicted. It is likely, most likely, that the jury would have imposed the death penalty, and he would have, at that point, maintained his innocence. He wouldn't have even acknowledged his guilt.
That burden, as the elected official, as the prosecuting attorney for our area, that's his burden to bear. And I know he took all of their input into consideration, but at the end of the day, that decision was his to make, and it was immensely difficult.
The plea agreement left big questions unanswered, like motive and who might have been the target.
The evidence suggested that there was a reason that this particular house was chosen. What that reason is, we don't know.
Coming up, the victims' families speak directly to the killer. Plus, surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen.
He took them from me, my friends, my people who felt like my home.
The Court TV podcast will return. The following program contains graphic images. Viewer discretion is advised.
Nearly 3 years after the murders, the families of the victims would face Bryan Kohberger in court, giving them a chance to tell him exactly how they felt.
He's going to hate this. He's going to hate this next set of people that are going to come forward and really rip into him and really expose him for what kind of a piece of trash he was.
All eyes were on the courthouse. Dozens of people waited in line for hours to get a seat. Ethan Chapin's family chose not to attend, but friends and family of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, and Xana Kernodle were there.
I was in the courtroom. It was a very heavy feeling. I was looking over at the victims' families. So much anticipation. Would we finally get answers? Very tense moments.
Be seated. Thank you.
Surviving roommate Dylan Mortensen gave her statement from the prosecution table. This was the first time she'd spoken publicly, and the man she'd last seen in person walking by her bedroom door after stabbing her friends sat just a few feet away.
She did not want to engage with eye contact with the defendant, and she asked us to block the field of view, the line of view between her and the defendant, so she would not be distracted by seeing him or him seeing her. That's what she wanted, and she did a phenomenal job. She was so strong.
Just take your time, all right?
Because of him, for beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason. He didn't just take them from the world. He took them from me, my friends, my people who felt like my home. And then there are the panic attacks. The guy that slammed into me like a tsunami out of nowhere. I can't breathe. I can't think. I can't stop shaking. All I can do is scream because the emotional pain and the grief is too much to handle.
So brave to share as she did, and everybody in the courtroom could feel the emotion. Even court staff had tissues going to their eyes. It was just so sad, but so powerful, so honest.
While Dylan avoided looking at Kohberger, Kaylee's father, Steve Gonzalez, wanted to look him square in the eye.
When Steve Gonzalez moved the podium to face Bryan Kohberger, the room got completely silent. It was tense. The deputies, they moved closer into the well. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Today, we are here to finish what you started. Today, you've lost control. Today, we are here to prove to the world that you picked the wrong families. The wrong state, the wrong police officers, the wrong community. You tried to divide us. You failed. Instead, your actions have united everyone in their disgust for you.
Then it was time for Kaylee's older sister, Olivia Gonzalez, to take the podium, give her victim impact statement. She looked at Bryan Kohberger, and she did not hold back.
The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty. If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? What's it like needing this much attention just to feel real? You're terrified of being ordinary, aren't you? Do you feel anything at all? Or are you exactly what you always feared? Nothing.
My body was telling me, run. Back behind there, there's no human being. There's no humanity. I wanted to maintain that eye contact as much as I possibly could. And when I tell you, there's not a human there.
Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your ass. Thank you.
The sentencing hearing was powerful. It was quite an experience. Well done, well deserved. They took the opportunity to stand up and be heard in a way that the public and society can see firsthand what harm, what devastation these crimes have brought on these innocent people and our community.
Maddie was my only child that I ever had. She's the only great thing I ever really did, and the only thing I was really ever proud of.
This moment isn't about you. It's about justice for Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. Xana's story doesn't end with what was taken from her. It lives through the love she gave, the people she touched, and the legacy her family will protect.
I do pray for you. I pray that you come to the end of yourself. I pray that before this life is over, that you ask our Lord and Savior in your heart and to forgive you.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline. After the families, it was time for Judge Stephen Hippler to speak, who was also emotional.
During the quiet morning hours of November 13, 2022, a faceless coward reached the tranquility of 6 beautiful young people and senselessly slaughtered them. Truth be told, I'm unable to come up with anything redeeming about Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. And therefore, I will not attempt to speak about him further, other than to simply sentence him so that he is forever removed from civilized society.
What do you want to know? What would you like to know?
Well, I join with everybody. I would like to know why. And even if it doesn't really make sense why someone would do something like this, just to have that reason, but we're not going to get that.
After he was sentenced, Bryan Kohberger was driven 20 minutes outside of Boise to the Idaho Maximum Security Institution in Kuna, Idaho. He'll spend the rest of his life there, serving 4 consecutive life terms, plus 10 years. In Moscow, the home of the victims was torn down in December of 2023. Whether it remains empty or not, that spot will forever be a reminder of Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogan.
Is Moscow back to normal?
Not yet. I don't know if there is such a thing as going back to, as you put it, normal. We knew that we had one individual who committed this horrific crime, and that person will never leave the correctional institution unless he's in a box. To me, that's justice. I'm hopeful now that we can establish some version of healing and move on, but we'll always remember it, and we will always have it with us.
Kaylee, you will never be forgotten. We will live fight for you every day with your mentality in our mind. We love you so much.
She embodied her own sunshine, and that's when her skies became limitless.
Guys, I met Charlie D'Amelio, check!
Most important is love. Like it's the only thing you know how. Nothing even matters except love and human connection.
You know, I'm not a big drinker, but maybe I should have something. You're not a big drinker?
I was lucky enough to be able to explore life with Maddie. Maddie was the best at spreading love.
Xana was the funniest person I knew and made me laugh every time I spent time with her.
Honestly, it's just
Xana, you will not be forgotten. You have impacted so many lives and have given people so much love.
Ethan was always someone you could count on to make you smile and cheer up your mood. And I feel so lucky to have shared so many great memories with him.
Minions, tonight we steal the moon!
While Bryan Kohberger avoided the death penalty, he was sent to spend the rest of his life to the same facility that houses inmates on Idaho's death row, including doomsday prophet Chad Daybell. Kohberger will be treated as a high-profile inmate, spending a good portion of his life in solitary confinement. I'm Ted Rollins. Thanks for watching Victim to Verdict.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.